in favor of a flat tax because of proportionality. Everybody should be hit exactly the same. In order to, remain revenue neutral, we would have to make that rate at about 15% and eliminate all deductions and all the loopholes. That will get us about $2.7 trillion, which is still short of the $3.5 trillion that we need.
That was Republican presidential candidate Dr. Ben Carson speaking with Maria Bartiromo yesterday. Joining the conversation is Maverick PAC co-chair Morgan Ortagus. Morgan, we've heard the candidates support a flat tax in the past. It hasn't really resonated with voters. This plan from Carson, I will point out, at least he's honest in saying, or frank in saying, rather, that I will get rid of all deductions, which a lot of these candidates want to cut tax rates and keep things like the mortgage interest deduction.
Absolutely. Good morning, Dagen. I think that Ben Carson is not the first person to talk about the flat tax. Ted Cruz, I think, was the first presidential candidate to mention in this debate. And every Republican debate that we've heard in the past few years has talked about the flat tax at some point. I don't see Ben Carson's plan as being entirely different. But I think the key here is if you're for the tax plan, for the flat tax, and if you want to get rid of the loopholes, what you're going to have to do is really talk about how you're going to get Congress on board for this plan. Over the past 6 years, we've had a president with these lofty ideas. He can't get much through Congress except Obamacare, and then he uses executive action to get things done. So my question is for Carson and for Ted Cruz and for others who support the flat tax and getting rid of these deductions is how are you going to get this through Congress? What kind of leadership style are you going to have to actually get things done? Great plan. How are you going to do it?
Hi, Morgan. Scott Brown. Well, great points, and I agree with you. It's something that I was speaking with some folks about yesterday, is that you have many of the candidates have these wonderful tax plans, but you need 60 votes in the Senate. You have to get some type of unification in the House and Senate to get these things done. And with respect, I don't see the mortgage interest deduction, or more importantly, the charitable interest deduction going away anytime soon. So while I think Dr. Carson's plan is a good starting point, I think ultimately if it moves forward, it's going to have to be tweaked to take care of some of the so-called sacred cows. What do you think on that?
I agree with you. I think it's a great philosophy, but there has to be an action plan. And I think tonight I expect the Fox Business moderators to really hold these candidates accountable for what they're saying. Great plans. How are you going to implement them? And I think that there's a lot of things that's going on in the world today. When you look at TPP, whenever you look at the Chinese currency, there's so many different things, as Dagen pointed out earlier, that even Trump talked about in his op-ed this morning, that we really need, that the next president is going to face on day one. These are real issues, not sort of these rhetorical I want a flat tax plans.
But definitely watch for the candidates to use rhetoric about my tax plan is better for families, my tax plan is better for small businesses, to really sell their ideas and the differences and the similarities. We're going to also want to get your take on the following. Talk about making a headline. This was all over the place this morning. Jeb Bush causing some controversy, saying if he could go back in time, he would kill baby Hitler in his crib. What are your thoughts?
I don't know that I have thoughts on this. I mean, who wouldn't want to get rid of Hitler? I mean, as a Jewish woman, thank you, Jeb Bush. I think on the campaign trail, there's a lot of really odd gotcha questions. I think this is one of them.
Well, yeah, if you get asked that, Anthony, what are you going to say? What are you going to say?
I mean, I'm Jewish. I think I'd kill baby Hitler.
Yeah.
I watched the tape. I actually thought there was a little bit of a joke going on in there in the tape, and his tenor was, of course, you got to take him out, you got to act. It was like being a joke. It's a silly question. He was responding with a silly answer, but this stuff goes into the atmosphere.
But it makes for a headline because it made me pay attention.
He would have been better served not answering a question like that, and he could have just said, "Hey, listen, that's not where I want to go." And just dodge the question. I think it's a super ridiculous question, by the way. I wouldn't answer the question if you asked me.
Is that we're very early in the silliest of seasons?
Yeah, they're coming.
Exactly.
They're coming. I've run 13 races. I can't tell you the amount of silly questions that I've received, and sometimes you have to just say, with respect, that's a crazy question. That's a silly or inappropriate question. I'm not going to answer it. Do you have a real question? Similar to what Trump and others have actually done.
Right.
But I think he answered it in a joking way.
Right.
And I watched the tape last night.
All right. We'll talk more about Jeb. It's make or break tonight.
See,
Anthony?
It's interesting you say that because I completely disagree.
All right, well, hey, we found a point of disagreement. Then we will
I mean, the election's not tomorrow. It's a debate tonight. The election's not tomorrow.
I think Dagen's talking about, she thinks the momentum and what's coming out of the
momentum starts in the first in the nation primary state.
All right, we're going to debate this later because
I'm in Scott's camp.
He's had 3 debates that were, okay, thank you, gentlemen.
And he's in 6th, yeah.